So like when I'm making decisions, that's how I think is like, is this going to matter 5 years from now? Is this going to contribute to the goals that I have on the lock screen of my phone or what I write down every day? Or is this just something that I want to do? And if it's something that I want to do, it can be sacrificed for my wife, for my kids, for you guys, for the people who are given to me, man. If I can't sacrifice to give back, then who am I? I'm not a leader. I'm a follower.
What is up, my dear friends, and welcome back to another episode here on the Honey, I'm Home podcast, a segment on the Happy Heart Academy podcast. Today is Thursday, and you know what that means. We are talking about leadership within your home, and today I have a very special guest with me, and this is one that makes me excited, but it also makes me a little nervous because I look up to this man. I respect this man. He's a man of greatness in many aspects in life, whether it be in relationships, in business, in finances, in family. It's in all aspects. I really do. There's a select few people that I can truly say that about. So I'm excited to share this gentleman with you because he is a man of truth, a man of wisdom, a man of power, a man of love, and his name is Mr. Brian Hess. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Man, talk about making somebody nervous. That's a heck of an intro, bro. Thanks.
Well,
Not sure it's all deserved, but I'll try to live up to it here.
Oh, it's absolutely deserved. I mean, I've been around your way of living for the past 12 months now, and I've got to know you. I spend more time with you than I do my wife, and you've changed a lot about me indirectly and directly. You've spoken into my life, my relationships, my finances, in every area of my life, and I am so grateful that you've decided to take your time out of your day-to-day, knowing that you are a super busy man and you're okay with jumping on the Honey, I'm Home podcast. And so thank you for being on here. Thank you for spending your time with me. And today I want to talk to you a little bit about the importance of what it means to be a father in a home and the importance of leading your family, because you can speak into this, but you are a father of 5. You run a multi-million-dollar corporation and company that I am proudly work for. And this studio here is brought to you by this man who I'm sitting beside today. So, Brian, I know we have limited amount of time, and I could talk to you for hours, and one day we'll have that opportunity. But until then, I really want you to speak into the idea that I have a lot of listeners that come in on a weekly basis that listen from a broken home, and they're a single parent that are struggling with their own children in their own life. And, as a father, as a leader, what kind of experience can you speak into to give them more hope, more strength into their life so they can be better leaders within their own homes?
Well, I'll just say this, man. I think, I think that parenting, being a father in general is, any parent, whether it's a father or mother, because I know this to be true on the other side of this equation with my wife and every other parent that I meet. It's the most insecure position that you could ever have. There's so many things in life that are controllable. It's why I love business so much, because for the most part, it's ultimately controllable. What you do this, you get that. Parenting doesn't work that way. And I remember having this conversation with my dad the day that my daughter was born. So Paisley was, my first, and she's 11 now. And, my dad was just like telling me, all the things that he wish he had done different. My dad was a great dad, but you only know what you know at the moment, And so, when you're, I'll use this example. When you're in business, I just had somebody reach out to me his wife is pregnant, and he's an older compared to most people that have children.
Right.
And he, was asking for advice. And I said, dude, you got it more figured out than most, right? And you just got to realize, like, you're never going to know what you're doing. And so how is it then that you try to be a great parent? And the reality is this, man. To be a great parent, you have to be the best person you can be, It starts with you. That foundation of being a parent is built on working on yourself. And I think that's an uncomfortable discussion for a lot of people because, far too many people don't spend enough time working on themselves, whether that be through reading scripture, looking yourself in the mirror and telling yourself the truth about where you are in your life. And, you know, because listen, man, people can't get better until they're honest. You know, I just had a conversation with a contractor and he asked me, you know, mentoring contractors, like, what are the biggest challenges? And I said, the biggest challenge is getting somebody to tell me the cold, hard truth. And so it's the same with ourselves. And so, again, to be a great parent, we have to be great people. You know, we have to live well because, you know, the lessons that kids get, they're far more often caught than taught. And so, you know, it's the things that we do.
Yeah.
It's not the things that we say that kids pick up on. You know, for everybody who's ever been around a child who's said an inappropriate word, you pretty much know where it comes from, right? And so, you know, that's true in any parenting thing. And so that could be scary for some people that are not in a great place in their own life and have children. That's okay. You know, just understanding where you're at and being willing to put in the work and being rigorously honest with those people who are willing to help you. That's the key to making any progress in life, whether it's business, your family, your marriage, your faith. You know, it all requires just rigorous honesty and a lot of work, man. There's no shortcut to this stuff. You know, I always tell people being a father is the most insecure position I have because if I'm at work, I always feel like, you know, I want to be with my kids. And if I'm with my kids, I always feel like, man, if I was at work, I could be providing better or providing more security, you know, or doing something that could benefit our family better. And, you know, you just got to balance all that. And, you know, that's the other part of that is I think, you know, people pursue balance, you know, well, I got to spend more time with my kids or I got to spend more time at work. Like, you never really truly achieve balance, right? You're in pursuit of it, but it's like a scale that never finds its center. It's always off one way or the other, whether it's 0.01% off or it's 90% off one direction, because, you know, people go through those periods of their life too. But parenting is not, there's a lot of books out there that you can read that are helpful to give you perspective. But just like anything in life, there's nothing like experience. And so when this guy called me the other day to ask me for some advice on, you know, becoming a parent, his wife's just pregnant. And I said, brother, I don't have it all figured out, but I got 5 of them and probably a lot more experience than most.
Yeah, dude.
Given the quantity. It's like, you know, who knows how to hit a baseball better? The guy that has 10 at bats or 1,000. You know, probably 1,000 at bats gives you a little bit more experience. And so for me, you know, I've had a lot of ups and downs as a father, you know, a lot of mistakes, a lot of things that I wish I could do over, but that's not how it works, you know? And so that's why it's so important for us to become better people so that in the moment when we're in decision time as a parent, we know what to do. Our gut instincts tell us what to do, and we don't have to go to some manual or book. It's just how we live is a good enough example that can be duplicated that we would be proud to hand to our children.
Wow, man. That's a perspective. And I find it fascinating that you still make time for your ability to focus on some personal growth, self-development, and your ability to lead. Because, I mean, for those of you that don't know Brian, like, there's not a time that I don't find you not being busy or doing something. Your calendar is always full, man. Like, this one's going to be a little bit of a shorter one today just because, like, you have a meeting right after this. You have, you know, more phone calls to take. And so, like, I want to understand, like, for those of them individuals out there that are using the excuse, well, you don't understand, I'm always busy. I'm either at work or, like, then my kids, I got to feed my kids. I got to do X, Y, and Z. How am I going to ever, you know, lead my kids when they can't find time to lead themselves? You know, when do you, as a busy entrepreneur, a family man, you know, a businessman, all of that, how do you find time? Where do you map that in? Is it a specific time? Is it on a whim? Do you just kind of guess at it? Like, when do you find time to do some self-reflection as well as some personal growth so that you can lead your family to victory inside your own home as a busy man?
Yeah, I'd say the most important thing that people need to learn is how to say no. You know, and that's not an easy thing for people. You know, it's not an easy thing for me. It took me years to learn how to say no. And then the other part would be surround yourself with people that can pick up the ball. One of the things that happened today, Keith Callaway Jr. took a couple calls from me on the top contractor school side that I was scheduled to take. But when you have great people around you that understand the mission and are willing, and I'll do that back for him, right, at some point when he needs it. But it's if you can learn to say no to things. I had to say no to something last night because I wanted to take Preston to the hockey game. My 4-year-old, I wanted to take him to the hockey game. Why?
Yeah.
Well, because I promised him I would take him to a hockey game, right?
Yeah.
He didn't get to go with his brothers and sister last week to the game, and I said, buddy, if you stay home with mommy, I'll take you to a game, just the two of us. And, dude, he's 4, and I was going into, an area that's, kind of a higher end area of the arena. And so I was texting my wife, and I'm like, I'm not sure this is a good idea to take a 4-year-old into this, And so I was kind of like thinking, in the back of my mind, I was almost trying to talk myself out of it. And then I'm like, no, man, I made a promise. And so I'm going to keep my promise. And so I'm going to say no to something that, I could have said yes to and not even gone to that game. But if we want our kids to keep their promises, we have to show them how important it is to keep ours. And, listen, man, I was tired last night, exhausted. I could have laid on the couch and watched the Pens game at home instead of going to it. But, I went to the game. That little dude had a blast. He was banging on the glass. He caught a puck from a player that flipped it over the glass to him.
Let's go.
He talked to all the people that were in the suite downstairs, and a ton of memories made. And so I think we have to learn how to say no. We have to protect our time. And so, that goes to what we were talking about this morning. It's like, what are your goals? Like, are your goals really your goals? Or are you just picking up the things that you hear from other people and applying them to what you do? And so if your goals aren't really your goals, you're going to find yourself saying yes to things that you should say no to. But if your goals are really your goals, and so for me, it's like that time with my family, that time with my kids, making memories with them, taking vacations with them, dating my wife, like those are, on the personal side, those are priorities for me. Those are goals. And I have clearly defined things. Like, I want to spend one-on-one time with all of my kids because I have, as of 3 weeks ago, I have 5 of them. And so I don't want them to feel like middle children, right?
Oh, man.
Or
huge.
I don't want them to feel like, as the oldest child, like Paisley would think, well, everything was cool until my brother showed up, right? I want to make sure that, like, they get the right time with me and they get the right time with Lori. And the only way I can do that is to say no to a lot of things that, frankly, I'd like to do, that would be more selfish choices. But as a father, it is a selfless decision to become a father. It's like you have a human being that is your responsibility walking around this earth, and the only person that can make them feel the way that you can make them feel is you. Like,
If you're
you're the only person. And so, especially in the realm of fathers, like, we all know the statistics on fatherless homes. It's not a good result because we have to be led. We have to have that father figure that makes us feel secure and seen and teaches us the ways that a man should behave and the way that a father should protect and the way that a husband should love his wife. And all of those things matter, man. And if we don't show up and we're not that example for our kids, they'll find that example somewhere.
If you're not leading them.
If you're not leading them, they'll find it somewhere. And I'm telling you, man, the world's not full of great examples. And so think about that. If you're a father out there or you're a mother out there, you're the best chance your child has. And so be that example. Put in the work. Say no to the things that you really want to do for them and make sure that it's worth it, because at the end of the day, man, you're the only shot they got. And God blessed you with the opportunity to be a leader in your home. Don't ever take it for granted. I can't tell you, man, how many people that I talk to that are, 60s, 70s, and they say every time, man, when I tell them, I've 4 kids for a long time, now 5, they say it goes fast, man. Last night, sitting at the game, guy sitting in front of us, he's a financial advisor, He turns around and said, "How old is he?" I said, 4. He said, "It was like yesterday, man, that my kids were 4." All the time. And so I'm reminded by that, man, of really successful men that wish they had done it differently, that wish they had spent more time with their kids, that wish they said no to the things that, frankly, they don't matter, man. So, like, when I'm making decisions, that's how I think, is like, is this going to matter 5 years from now? Is this going to contribute to the goals that I have on the lock screen of my phone or what I write down every day? Or is this just something that I want to do? And if it's something that I want to do, it can be sacrificed for my wife, for my kids, for you guys, for the people who are given to me, man. If I can't sacrifice to give back, then who am I? I'm not a leader. I'm a follower.
Yeah, man, that is huge what you just spoke there, and there's a lot of thought that's coming to mind. First thought in regards to that is, like, I'm still reading this book called *Sapiens*. It's like a brief understanding of the human experience or something like that. But it talked about how, you know, people need to be raised by communities. It's hard to be, like, we all expect, especially, you know, in the singlehood of things, it's like we expect that we should walk in our marriage alone with our partner and that be the only person, right? It's like, or like raising a kid, you might be a single parent, you know, raising your kid alone. That was my father, right? He raised us alone. But it's like, if you want to speak into that and love into that and build a success, what I say is a successful home, meaning like your kids respect you, they look up to you, they love you, they have your back. When someone speaks badly about, you know, you and your family, they speak up for you, right? Like they make sure, like, you don't talk about my dad that way, right? I feel like there's a lot of children out there, or a lot of kids out there nowadays that call their parents by their first names. I find that so disrespectful, because the relationship was never created along the way because of the busyness or the selfish behaviors that they decided to pick, you know, choose. In my scenario, alcohol over, you know, spending time with us, or like whatever it might have been that my parents decided to choose because of the selfish behavior. So, Brian, I know that we're coming up on time here, but, you know, one final question that I have for you is, you know, what's one thing that you would like to share with the audience in Honey I'm Home and Happy Heart Academy that could help them to transition their relationships within 2024? What's one thing that they can begin to do today that they could find very helpful, so that they can build just more joyful relationships in their homes with their self, with God, with their kids, or, you know, maybe even with their significant other that's slowly slipping away?
I'll tell you, man, like, you know, years ago when, you know, I was, you know, a younger adult and, you know, things weren't great in my life, you know, they weren't bad. And, you know, define great, like, what is it? Because lots of people will say, like, well, I don't have any money. And it's like, money won't make you happy, man. You know, it doesn't hurt either. I'm not delusional. I've been broke and I've had some money, and I can tell you which one is better. But, you know, there was a point in my life where I felt lost. You know, I didn't feel like I had purpose. I didn't feel like, you know, where I was going was a destination that I had a clear vision of. And I think that starts with us. It really does start with us. And so, like, you know, not to repeat what I've already said, but I can't think of a better answer. It's like, you have to get better. You have to get better in order for anything around you to get better. And so, how does that happen? Well, for me, man, it happened by picking up a book and starting to read and learning how to be a leader. And that was a John Maxwell book, you know, years and years and years ago. And I thought to myself when I was reading this book, I was like, you know, and I got the pleasure of meeting and spending some time with John Maxwell. Yeah. And I told him, like, you know, I had both of my grandfathers passed away when I was like 13 years old. And John Maxwell was the closest thing that I could connect to that was like my grandfather, like reminded me of that tone and that feel. And that helped me become obsessed with, what does it look like to be a leader? You know, what behaviors do I need to exhibit? And so the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership sent me on this journey of, like, self-discovery of, like, how do I do better in my life? And how do I look around me, and how do I pull the weeds? And that's a difficult thing for people, man. Most likely, if you're not in a place where you're serving at the level that you should, it's not just because of you, it's also the surroundings that you have. People talk about children being raised by, a bunch of people. Like, takes a village, they say. Well, be careful. Every village has an idiot, right? And so, if you're leaving your children to the village to be raised, then most likely at some point they're going to be influenced by that person. And so it takes us stepping up. It takes us realizing that nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to save your family. Nobody's coming to save you. It's one decision at a time, one day at a time, deciding to be better, knowing that you're going to fall down, and that's okay. You just have to get back up and stay the course and keep gaining knowledge. And so for me, man, the best advice I could give people is like, read books, listen to podcasts, follow people with substance, man. There's too many people following, people that post trash, to be honest with you. It's like there's no substance, there's no depth to it. Because somebody has 1 million followers on social media does not make them qualified to advise you, and it doesn't make them qualified to essentially, think about it this way. Whatever you're consuming through social media, you're going to spit back out to your children, to your family. And if you're not careful, man, that's going to be a bunch of crap that you consume online that's going back into your family. And it impacts your mind. And so work on yourself, evaluate everything in your life. And you guys know, man, we're all planted with this compass from God that says, like, this is right and this is wrong. You already know it, man. You can numb that gut instinct with alcohol or drugs or whatever you want to. Yep. It doesn't change reality.
100%.
It doesn't change the fact that you can be better than you are today. And so for me, the reason that I read, the reason that I listen to podcasts, the reason that I try to listen to people really well is like, dude, I don't believe I'm anywhere remotely close to what God has for me. And so if I don't listen and I don't put in the effort, I say this all the time, but like, God likes to hit a moving target. So if you want to get blessed, start moving and start putting in the work that allows you to get to a point in your life where God can bless you. God can't bless you sitting on your couch doing nothing. God can't bless you pawning your kids off on an iPad or a video game or somebody else. God can bless you when you put in the work, man, and you love your kids and you listen and you sit on the couch with them and you talk to them and you read to them and you put them in the situations with other people that they should be proud to look up to and be friends with and connected to. And that's, for me, man, that journey to today, that's what it looks like. It's like, dude, my kids get to hang out with like the best people I could ever imagine. And they get to do really cool things. That didn't happen because, well, people just showed up and started saying like, hey, do you want to hang out? Like, I put in the work, man. And I woke up every day and I did the work most of the time with no results. And then one day, like the Chinese bamboo tree, it just sprouted up, 90 feet, and it looks like an overnight success. But it takes work, and you got to decide, man, what you want to do with your life. Do you want to do something great for yourself, for your kids, for your family? Or do you want to go through life having no idea what's coming tomorrow, next week, next month? And it's a decision, and you can control that decision. If you think you can't, you are incorrect. And so, it's a decision for you to get better. And when you get better, everything around you gets better.
Man, Brian, thank you so much for being here and speaking your truth, your heart, and your words into this audience, because I know I need to hear that. I know I need reminders of that. I'm not a father yet, but that doesn't mean I can't be working on becoming a father this very moment and having, a family that my kids and my wife respect and look up to. No matter where you're at in your journey, whether, you're single now or you're perhaps needing to work on yourself, or you need a community, or, you are a father, or whomever, wherever, whatever label you give yourself. Just understand that Honey, I'm Home is a place that you can come to open up and to learn about how to become a better leader within your own home. I'm hopefully going to invite more guests, including Brian, on this multiple times. You're going to be seeing his face a lot. Brian, where can they find you? Where would you like them to follow you at? I can post all of your social media in the show notes below, so be sure to check that out there. But where can they find you? What's your Instagram handle?
Yeah, it's Real Brian Hess, so RealBrianHess, and then YouTube. We're on the One Team Media channel together.
Yes, sir. That's where we belong.
Yeah, and I would say this, man, to respond to you, like you say, like I need that. So do I, dude. I need reminded of that too, bro. Life is difficult. And
Yeah.
so for those people out there that aren't where they want to be, like, we understand. I've been there. I get there, once every couple weeks still. And but the difference is once you know how to get out, you know how to get out, and you know how to reframe it all. And that's the difference.
You know how to get out once, you can continue to get out no matter where 100%. You find yourself in. So my dear friends, if you found this podcast helpful, supportive, encouraging, and or uplifting, be sure to do this podcast a favor and leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to the podcast at, because that significantly helps improve the reach of this podcast. And once again, you can help this podcast reach more hearts and more homes by just leaving a simple review. And make sure you give Brian Hess a follow on all of his social media platforms and One Team Media. That's where you're going to be seeing a lot more of us as One Team continues to come together as this amazing platform where you're going to find everything that I believe that you need to learn from people just like Brian Hess himself. So my dear friends, once again, if you found this podcast helpful, supportive, encouraging, or uplifting, be sure to share it out. And we appreciate your time today. Love you guys. Thank you for being here. And this is Honey, I'm Home.